So today we're going to be digging into a really interesting review of the brand new James Cameron blockbuster, Avatar: Fire and Ash. Now, on the surface, the review gives it a pretty solid 7 out of 10. But, the story behind that number is way more complicated than it looks. So, yeah, let's just dive right in. All right, so first out, we've got this section called The Same Chicken Sandwich. It's a bit of a quirky analogy from the YouTuber who reviewed the film, but honestly, to really get where this reviewer is coming from, you have to understand this one central idea they have about the entire Avatar franchise. It's weird, but it's absolutely key to the whole thing. So yeah, there it is. It never gets any better, it's never all that great, and yet I look forward to it and enjoy eating my slop every single Tuesday. I mean, what a line, right? For this reviewer, Snarky J, watching an Avatar movie is basically like getting the same chicken sandwich every single week. It's predictable, it's not exactly fine dining, but they still kind of look forward to it. And really, that one idea, it's the perfect way to understand their whole take on this new film. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the 7 out of 10 verdict and really break down that core rating. I mean, if the movie is just another one of those chicken sandwiches, what does that actually translate to as a score? Let's find out. The reviewer went all out, saw it on the biggest, most immersive screen they could find, and, well, the final score they landed on says a lot. And there it is, a 7 out of 10. It's good, but it's definitely not great, not a masterpiece. It's pretty much the perfect score for that chicken sandwich we were talking about, right? And this right here, this quote just nails the whole issue. Beautiful, but the same movie again? It really gets to the core of why it's a 7. The movie is an absolute feast for the eyes, just a technical marvel. But the story? It's just so familiar that you feel like you've seen it all before. All right, let's dive into Pandora's beauty and brawn. We're going to talk about what the film actually gets right. Let's break down that score, starting with all the good stuff. Okay, so the good stuff. And look, no surprise at all, the visuals are just flawless. The world building is gorgeous, Pandora looks absolutely stunning, they've got new environments, some really cool new vehicle designs, and the original characters, Jake Sully and Neytiri, their arcs are still really strong. Even the villain, Quaritch, is called brilliantly despicable, which is exactly what you want. It all comes together to create these high stakes that actually feel real, and that's a huge win. But of course, it wasn't a perfect movie. So what held it back from a 10? Let's get into Pandora's problems and talk about where the film falls short. All right, the weak points. So a huge problem seems to be the new characters. Specifically, the Sully children are called incredibly unlikable. Ouch. The reviewer also thought it was just plain weird having Sigourney Weaver, who's in her 70s, voicing a teenager. And then you've got the runtime, a bloated 3 hours and 15 minutes. And the biggest problem of all? The story is basically a rehash of the first 2 movies. So, yeah, you can start to see where those 3 missing points went. And this really gets to a crucial point the reviewer makes about a shift in scale. Think about it. The first Avatar was this really intimate, granular story. It was all about one guy in a totally new world. But now, with the sequels, it's just gotten so big. It feels more like superhero fare, just bloated with all these new clans and characters. It's kind of lost that personal touch that made the first one so special. So, your ticket to Pandora, who is this movie actually for? We've laid out the good, we've laid out the bad. Which leaves us with a $1 million question. Should you go see it? So, is this movie for the average moviegoer? That's the big question the reviewer really tries to answer. I mean, is this giant spectacle something that just anyone can enjoy? And the answer they come up with is probably not. Which, is a pretty bold thing to say about a movie you just gave a 7 out of 10. But yeah, the argument is that even with all its good points, it's just not for everybody. And here's why. The reviewer says, this is not a meal movie. This is a popcorn movie. And that's such a great way to put it. A meal movie is something you chew on, something complex and filling. A popcorn movie is just pure, simple entertainment. And this film, it's definitely a popcorn movie. So who is it for then? Well, it's for the fan. The person who can just turn off their brain, someone who's already bought into this world and is totally willing to overlook a few plot holes or a story they've seen before just so they can get lost in Pandora one more time. And that brings us to the reviewer's final, pretty blunt piece of advice. Just turn off your brain and go Avatar. It's such a perfect summary of their whole take, isn't it? And it kind of leaves you with a really interesting question. In a world of super complicated, interconnected blockbusters, maybe there's something to be said for just turning off your brain. Maybe that simple, jaw-dropping spectacle is exactly what we need from the movies right now.